Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to the fourth annual Moochies. As regular viewers and subscribers know, this is where we celebrate the year gone by, review the highlights, and then at the end of the live stream, we award the Mucci for guest of the episode with the most views and guest of the year. And I know some of you have put your guesses in the post tab, and we'll figure out who is going to get a signed copy of Punk's Force for guessing correctly. Now, I don't think anybody got guessed with the most views, but I think a few of you got guess of the year, so we'll have like a lottery, as it were. So thanks for showing up. Pretty small group so far. New Year's Eve. Thanks for being here on New Year's Eve. This is a very casual live stream. We got Mrs. Mooch working the moderating and the comments moderation right over there. Hello, Mrs. Mooch.
Hi.
She says hi. And we're kind of on a tight timeline this year because we have Driver, the Wonder Dog, our new puppy. I guess that's redundant. Our puppy, what is he, 10 weeks old almost, 9.5 weeks old. Ingrid, as you guys know from a previous episode, had 4 puppies last fall, and we decided we would keep one of the boys. So we're up to 3 German wire-haired pointers. You guys have seen Sailor and Ingrid, and right now Driver is sleeping, and we don't want to disturb that. And as I said, that's a limited time frame, so we'll rage through this not too quickly, but thanks for showing up. And as normal, we'll start with some channel highlights. So way back in January, we were actually out in San Diego for a conference known as West, which is put on by the Naval Institute. And they had me moderate a panel, an aviation panel, with the Air Boss, Nav Air, NOC WD. It was and the Ike Strike Group commander. So it was a cool panel. What you see here is the legendary piano from Top Gun, the original Top Gun. This is the Great Balls of Fire piano that's there in Kansas City Barbecue, right downtown. This is actually where they shot that scene. So while we were there, the Tailhook Association had a gathering for the San Diego posse. And as we were on our way to that, we had just left the Naval Institute member reception, and we got word that there had been a collision over the Potomac. And so when I got to the Tailhook reception, the place was buzzing with what had happened. And there were a lot of airline pilots, former carrier aviators that were flying for the airlines at that reception. And they had some opinions about how that probably happened. So let me play an excerpt from that episode. Evening of this mishap, I was in San Diego attending a reception for the Tailhook Association, and I ran into a good friend, a Naval Academy classmate who flew Tomcats before becoming an airline pilot for American. He's flown into Reagan a lot, and he described the runway 1 to 33 approach as one of the most challenging in the country in that it requires pilots to visually deviate to the east before fairly aggressively turning back to the northwest to line up with runway 33, which is only about 5,200 feet long. He compared the approach to landing on an aircraft carrier using the Case 1 pattern. As Flight 5342 is back over the river on final glide path, the tower controller's screen is giving him a CA, or collision avoidance warning, so he asks Pat 25, do you have the CRJ in sight? And then gives them instructions to pass behind Flight 5342, which would be a deviation to the east. Pat 25 replies, aircraft in sight, and then says, requesting separation, which is sort of confusing because the tower has already told them to pass behind the airliner. Several camera views captured what happened next. Here's the view from the Kennedy Center, which is upriver from DCA. You can see the Lincoln Memorial and the 14th Street Bridge below, and another aircraft that just took off right before the collision happens. Here's a zoomed-in version of that same view. Here's a view from somebody who is driving onto Joint Base Bowling, which is across the river due east of DCA. And here's footage captured by a bystander at the airport. The midair killed 64 people aboard the CRJ and 3 soldiers in the Black Hawk. So obviously a huge tragedy. As the NTSB and Army's mishap investigation unfolded, it looked more and more like the fault laid with the Black Hawk crew. There were some inherencies that weren't good. The low-level routes that the Black Hawk was flying H1, H4 were right through that runway 33 approach. So they've eliminated the Army's ability to fly that route, which is smart. And the tower controller was task saturated. But I think he believed that once he asked the Black Hawk crew, do you have the CRJ in sight? And they said affirmative, that they were no longer his responsibility. So we did a couple of episodes about this, particularly also studying the relationship between the mishap pilot at the controls and the instructor pilot that she was flying with. So if you haven't seen those, go back and check them out. I'm sure you guys are familiar with what went down here, but that was not a good way to start the year. The next thing that happened, and this was very close to this channel, was the Truman collision just north of the Suez. So we had Sal Mercogliano, our good friend, on to do his analysis of this one. So here's an excerpt.
Sickness was going to cut in between Dunham and Truman. Truman was to the north, Dunham was to the south, and Besiktas was going to kind of goalpost right between them, which meant a port-to-port passage, left-to-left passage against Dunham, a starboard-to-starboard passage with Truman, which is, it's not typical, but you do it all the time because this is a really crowded anchorage. And what we don't know is that following the track of Besiktas, she turns left all of a sudden, and then speed comes down. And we believe that's the moment. We believe there's 2 impacts based on the damage we see on Truman. The starboard bow of Besiktas, which we have images of, the ship ripped off some of its mooring lines and some of the deck equipment. And you see that forward hatch cover there, which is dented in. That's the starboard bow of the vessel. We believe that is the section that hit that sponson just aft of the number 3 elevator on the starboard quarter of Truman. And that gives you those big metal shears right there that go through. That area right there and that sponson is where the ship's incinerator is. And then just inboard of it is some berthing areas. The bow of Besiktas continued aft. In this image, I pulled this one off Twitter. Somebody did this for me. I'm not sure exactly the scale is exactly right or if the angle of Besiktas is exactly that. It may be a little bit more pronounced into the side of Truman, but the vessel proceeded down the starboard quarter of Truman and actually hit that pipe you see there is the exhaust vent for the incinerator. You burn your garbage. You don't just dump trash anymore in the ocean, so you burn all your garbage. But then the vessel's bow, Besiktas's bow, struck the starboard quarter of Truman, causing a gash just above the aft mooring station.
So always great analysis from our good friend Sal. We'll look to have him on the channel in the year to come, and hopefully you guys are subscribed to what's going on with shipping. He always does fantastic work each and every episode. I've known Sal for a number of years. I met him when I was working at the Naval Institute. He was actually on the Proceedings podcast back then, and it's really a pleasure to watch his channel grow and also to have him on the channel from time to time. So you see his expertise there. As I mentioned, that was a tragedy and a huge disappointment for Hoser and I personally. You guys remember we were out on Truman during their workups. Captain Snowden was on that episode and gave us he was a fantastic host. And so, ultimately he got relieved for that collision, which is no surprise. It would always happen in the Navy. And you might remember that he was replaced by Chowda Hill, who we talked to when they got back from the Ike cruise. And Chowda did a fantastic job. Very challenging circumstance. And some other things happened after Chowda got there. As I said on the episode that we posted yesterday with Admiral LeClaire, what's disappointing is most folks, when they think about the Truman's deployment, only think about the four things that happened bad, which is the collision at sea, the blue on blue with Gettysburg, and the Ripper Super Hornet falling off the elevator as they were evading a Houthi drone, and the wire parting that caused the Super Hornet to go off the flight deck. So yes, in fact, those aren't good things. The mishap reports are comprehensive. Other channels have done deep dives analyzing the mishap reports. We kind of felt, because we had done analysis in real time that proved to be accurate, that there was no reason to go back. One thing I will mention about that is the mishap report for the collision pointed out that the Captain Snowden came on the bridge like pretty late into where they'd gotten themselves into an extremist situation. And immediately he saw what was going on, and the officer of the deck had ordered a level rudder. He saw that was going to increase the rate of closure and cause a worse collision. So Captain Snowden immediately said right full rudder, and that reduced the angle of impact and also changed where the ships collided, as Sal pointed out there, where they collided on the sponson and then on the near the stern. And that actually saved sailors' lives, because had he not given that rudder order, they would have hit in a berthing area. And you may remember summer of 2017, Fitzgerald McCain collisions at sea killed a number of sailors because the hull was pierced in berthing areas. So Captain Snowden did a good job to mitigate a bad situation, but ultimately he did lose command of Truman. So the next thing that we talked about was the new administration coming into office and carrying out what they said they were going to do, which is they said they're going to dewoke the Pentagon. So they basically fired the chairman, Brown, and the CNO, Admiral Franchetti. So we did an episode about that just sort of didn't provide any opinion, just matter of fact about what had happened. Also, Chairman Brown was replaced by Chairman Kane, Raisin Kane, an F-16 pilot, who I've had the occasion to speak with a couple of times on the sideline of Navy football games, most recently the Army-Navy game. I will say I'm flattered that he is a fan of the channel. I've asked him to be on the channel, and so far he's begged off for reasons you might understand, but he is a good guy. And so it's good to see him in that job. As you remember, that was in an unorthodox entry into the chairman job. He'd never been a combatant commander, which is required by law. So it took a waiver for him to take the job as chairman. And he skipped 3 stars. So he was a 2-star, retired, came back and put on his 4th star. So we covered all of that in that episode. The next thing that we were talking about, as usual, we were on several cases at once, including the situation in Ukraine. So we got some great analysis from Justin Bronk on the drone war. Let's listen to Justin here.
Say quadcopters are so incredibly cheap. You've got, let's say they're $500 to $1,000 depending on the fit, and it only takes 10 to 15 on average to disable a tank and maybe 30 to kill it. Okay, but a GBU-38 costs $18,000 and will kill any known tank in one, and you can carry loads of them on even an F-16 and deliver lots per mission with a targeting pod from a single aircraft, and they're easy to make, and we've got stockpiles of them, and you can do it repeatedly. without the travel time and the lag and the unreliability and the vulnerability to EW and all the other things that come with FPVs as a limitation. There's a very good reason why Western joint forces have optimized over time so heavily around essentially tactical air power, which is not just that we like it and that, I often hear people go, oh, the military industrial complex loves this stuff. It's actually not great for a lot of bits of the military industrial complex over time, because it means your overall forces can be much smaller and have much smaller stockpiles of a lot of ammunition and heavy vehicles and other things, which otherwise the military industrial complex, as in Russia or China, would be cranking out. It's because it's a really efficient way to do firepower, and it's better than anything else we've ever come up with.
So great stuff by Justin, and we'll be seeing him a lot in 2026. So we travel occasionally, and this year we had the occasion to do what we call a Moochapalooza in Pensacola. Our good friend and former Mucci Award winner as guest of the year last year, Captain Kevin Hoser Miller, basically was our host and the co-host of the episode we did from the National Museum of Naval Aviation. Hoser, as you guys may know, is an expert on the Battle of Midway. His fictionalized history, The Silver Waterfall, is must-read, award-winning book, and he walked us through a bunch of the displays there. But we also went to the QB bar. They have an absolute accurate recreation of the legendary QB bar, and our good friend and one of our key patrons, Sparky, explained how the QB bar was back in the day and how to do a dice roll. So let's watch that. We have some dice here because one of the things that you used to do there was do a roll them.
Roll for dice,
so let's
roll for
go
drinks.
through the basics of how this goes.
I have to acknowledge that my friend John Shattuck loaned this to me. And this is a no kidding, no shit from the QBO Club. He bought this 40 years ago,
Real
whatever.
Corinthian leather,
authentic, hand stitched, yeah.
Okay.
And so dice are typically, you could play ship, captain, crew. Are you familiar with the game?
You're going to have to remind me because it's been a while since
well, first rules.
Let's do a primer. Let's do a basic.
First rule
Pretend
is
like I don't know anything.
Right. Okay. So the first rule is any dice that go on the floor, it's serious party foul. That's a round.
You buy a round.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you roll 6 like that, you buy the table. You buy a round. But if you roll all aces, and if you go to and I think down at Mustang Beach they still have the aces honor roll, you buy the whole facility. And so the unwritten rule is if the unlikely event that you would roll 5 aces, one of them will reach over and knock it on the floor. So you get it degraded. So all you have to do is buy the
guys around the table.
Okay,
Yeah.
so ship, captain, crew, you get 3 rolls.
So how many guys would play at once? Remind me.
As many
as you want. So you're just passing the cup around.
Right.
Okay.
So and literally you go like, are you ready? I'm sorry. And so you go, are you in or out or whatever? And realizing that, we had a finite amount of finances. So there was a bit of risk involved here. And I think there's somebody around here that had to borrow money from somebody because they lost a roll one time.
Yeah,
Is that
maybe,
true?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got my calls.
Yeah. So the ship, captain, crew is you got a ship, you got a captain, and you've got a crew. So number 4 rolls up here. Okay. So you have 3 rolls. You have to make a 6, 5, 4 out of this. So when you roll a die, you just leave it there. So, but you have to get a 6, then a 5, and then a 4. And then you set your point, which are the two remaining dice. You get 3 rolls.
Okay.
So then the guy with the lowest number, like it's possible that you would not get a ship, captain, crew in your 3 rolls. So then it's like a race to the bottom to figure out who has the suckiest roll. Okay?
Okay.
So remember the first rule is that, right? Okay, so I got a ship, so a 6, a 5, and okay, so I'm going to pick them up. I got 2 more rolls. By the way, are you buying for everybody when this is over?
Yeah, we'll see how the rolls go.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Bending the rules here?
No, I'm just, okay, nothing. I need a 4. Still need a 4. Okay. Nothing. Okay, ship captain, that's all I got.
Okay.
To
So
you.
now it's to me.
Right?
Right?
Yep.
Also, if they stack, that's a no.
Right,
no
doesn't
roll,
count.
right?
Yeah, doesn't count.
Right.
Yeah. And leaners don't count either.
Leaners don't count.
No,
Right.
no. Stacked or leaners don't count.
Okay, so I've got ship, captain, crew. I
There you
win.
go.
So
You win
got
already.
it.
All right.
Right? That's how that would go.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
Get out my credit card. Oh, we
All
didn't
right.
have credit cards in the old days, right?
Oh, I don't.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it was
you don't
only
remember.
Cash only was.
Cash only, pretty much, yeah. Or as a good naval aviator, you had a big watch and you're always trying to cash a check, right?
Exactly.
That was the tradition.
Good stuff. That was a great time, great few days out there. Mrs. Mooch and I stayed at Pensacola Beach. The weather was mostly really good. It was actually pretty cold the day we left, but a great winter break. Thank you to Hoser and his wife Terry for hosting us, and we got to see our best man and his wife Wilco West while we were down there, and just reminisce. That's the first place Carrie and I lived after we got married, and I was a flight instructor down there at VT-86. So really, really fun time. And thanks to all of the patrons who joined us down there for Moochapalooza South and Sturls and the gang at the National Museum of Naval Aviation. If you are in Pensacola, do yourself a favor and go to that museum. It is fantastic, and it gets better every year. So good stuff. The next thing that we covered was what became known as Signalgate, and I won't go into the details of that, but basically the administration was on the app Signal, and the National Security Advisor, Mike Walls, invited Jeff Goldberg, who is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, into this chat. And so he just was there observing, and they went into some pretty classified, let me say top secret detail, including Hegseth put times on target and the exact sequence of the strike. So that wasn't good. Jeff Goldberg at first was not going to put the exact details out there, but he was getting savaged so badly by the members of the administration that he's like, okay, you guys are calling my hand here. And there was a subsequent posting of those details, which forced us to do another episode on that Signalgate. Ultimately, as we predicted, Mike Waltz got fired from the National Security Council. He was the guy they threw under the bus. It wasn't Hegseth. Everybody thought it was going to be Hegseth, but it was not. And he kind of failed upwards, where he's now the ambassador to the UN. So that was, we were all over that with the current events side of the channel. Then they made the announcement about the F-47, and we had our good friend Steve Trimble do his analysis. So here's an excerpt from that episode. But does the Air Force view this as a replacement for the Eagle, the Strike Eagle, the Raptor, or the F-35, or a combination of all of those?
No, it would notionally be a replacement for the F-22. And when they came out in May of 2023, when they announced the source selection phase had started, they said that this would be the F-22 replacement. They backtracked away from that several months ago and made it very clear in several different venues that no, the F-22 will not be replaced, that this will augment the F-22, if anything.
So good stuff from Steve there. And then we were talking about the strike that Truman did against Somalia, which was the first one on the Trump 47 watch. Here's an excerpt of that episode. Trump National Security Team assembled in the White House Situation Room on February 1st at 9:50 a.m. Red Sea time. 16 Carrier Air Wing 1 Super Hornets, both F-18Es, the single-seat model, and Fs, the two-seat model, dropped enough precision-guided ordnance to hit 10 targets. There were mostly caves in the Kal Miskad area of the semi-autonomous region of Puntland, where the ISIS terrorists were hiding, according to General Adan Abdi Hashi, the commander of the Puntland Dervish forces. Once the Super Hornets were all safely back aboard Truman, President Trump posted this on Truth Social. This morning, I ordered precision military airstrikes on the senior ISIS attack planner and other terrorists he recruited and led in Somalia. These killers, who were found hiding in caves, threatened the United States and our allies. The strikes destroyed the caves they live in and killed many terrorists without in any way harming civilians. Our military has targeted this ISIS attack planner for years, but Biden and his cronies wouldn't act quickly enough to get the job done. I did. The message to ISIS and all the others who would attack Americans is that we will find you and we will kill you. So, again, good work by Truman's Air Wing. As I was saying, it's a shame that the accomplishments of that Air Wing and the strike group are eclipsed, and that's CAG 1. CAG 1. I was CAG, I was back in the day. Are eclipsed, and all the public is thinking about of that deployment is the four dubious circumstances. I attended the Hook debrief, and the detail that emerged about the strike planning, the strike execution, how they did Rough Rider, how the small boys faced a huge onslaught of drones and ballistic missiles. And what Chowda said, which was really a pretty amazing statement, was it was 2 times worse on Truman than what he had faced on Eisenhower. And so that gives you an idea of just how kinetic that was. So no ships were hit. And we didn't lose any personnel is quite a feat. So I just, unfortunately, because of the circumstances surrounding DoD these days, I'm not able to have direct access to either the CAG or Chowda. I spoke to them at Hook, and they're not allowed to talk on the record at the moment. We'll keep the press on because their story is pretty amazing, and it's a story that need to be told. The next thing we dealt with, well, again, that strike was pretty cool, and that episode performed pretty well. The next thing that happened during the year was the fourth in the Punks series, Punks Force, was published. I co-wrote it with Tony Peake, and it's published by the Naval Institute Press. So they've published the original Punks War back in the day, back in 2001, and then they republished the rest of the trilogy when the channel took off in 2022. So love Naval Institute Press, love the Naval Institute. If you're not a member, you might want to check out being a member. It's been around since 1873. It's the open forum of the sea services. They publish a magazine called Proceedings every month. It's fantastic, must-read stuff. Our good friend Bill Hamlet and his assistant Bill Bray are the editor and assistant editor of Proceedings. But in any case, they agreed to publish Punk's Force, and the book is done pretty well. I'm proud of it. It's a nice addition to the series. But when it was coming out, I was like, I really want to do something to celebrate the release of this book. So I was able to get all of my lifelong good friends in town to have the release party here in Annapolis. And it was highlighted by, first, my good friend Rick Beato, for whom this channel exists. It wouldn't exist without him. He's the guy who convinced me about 2020 to start the channel, maybe even before that. But Rick is my YouTube mentor. I was a subscriber to his channel way before I knew him personally. We've become best friends. And so he made it up here. We did a little reception at the house the evening prior, and then spur of the moment, we decided to do a live stream. So there's Rick on the right. Behind Rick is Jim Barber, my good friend of many years. Jim was the entertainment editor at military.com. He's a longtime rock and roll insider, managed a band called Drivin' and Cryin'. He was Axl Rose's manager for a while, other luminaries. Jim's a great fellow, and I remain in close touch with him. So he and Rick traveled up here together. And then in the middle there is Tom Butwin. So Tom is a YouTuber in his own right, a great musician, does a lot of things for Premier Guitars channel. And as you probably know, he's the guy who created the outro theme for my channel. He sent that to me early on. It's a combination of Won't Get Fooled Again and the Top Gun theme. And so Tom made it up here as well. So we did a live stream from the attic from right here, spur of the moment. A lot of our friends were here that night, and that was very cool. And then the next night at the release party here at a place called Metropolitan in right there on West Street, which is only about a mile from our house, I was able to have my very good friend Steve Morse, who's there in the center. I've known Steve for 40 years. I've been a huge fan of his. He is your favorite guitarist, Guitar Player Magazine, Guitarist of the Year for 5 years running. They made him ineligible after the 5th year. I met him aboard the USS John F. Kennedy back in 1986 when I was in VF-32, and he was in Kansas, and they came out and did a USO show in the hangar bay aboard John F. Kennedy when we were south of Crete. And we brought him up to the ready room after the show, and we broke out the guitars and talked aviation. He is a pilot. He flew for a commuter airline for a few years. So Steve agreed to come up and join me, and his drummer, who's there on my right, your left, Van Romaine. Van has been the drummer for Steve Morse Band. He's also the drummer for Enrique Iglesias. He did a showcase with the B-52s recently. He plays with a lot of different bands. He is fantastic. Next to Steve is TJ Collins, my bass player for Danger Boy, our band. And then there's Tom Butwin. So that was beyond bucket list to have those guys. And let me give you a little taste of the set here. Here we are playing Cream's White Room.
Shadows
Absolute bucket list. Thank you for indulging me and letting me show you guys that. The entire episode, it features 5 of the 7 songs that we played. It was sort of an homage to Steve and his career, starting with a couple of Deep Purple songs. He was in Deep Purple for 28 years. His band, as I said, was the Dixie Dregs and the Steve Morse Band. The Steve Morse Band released an album this year called Triangulation, which I highly recommend. It is some of their best work ever, and real proud of what they accomplished this year. So check that out. Again, thanks to Van and Steve particularly, and Tom for coming in from far away. In my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd share the stage with Steve Morse. What a cool guy. And the official photographer of the channel, Jeff Hancock, took this picture of the band in full flight, which I love. It's my portrait on my Facebook page. Next thing on the road, we went to Reno in August for Tailhook, where we have a booth every year, courtesy of the Tailhook Association. On your left is Nasty Manazar, Rear Admiral Nasty Manazar, who you guys know. He is the executive director. He is the chairman of the board of the Tailhook Association. And on the right is Chaser Keithley, fellow Tomcat Rio and Super Hornet Wizzo, who is the executive director of the Tailhook Association. So I received an award which blew me away. Hey, thank you, Rick. You guys can see Rick Beato just gave us a super chat of way too generous, my friend, and Happy New Year to you. Thanks so much for being here. You guys know that Rick in previous years has done a kind of an all-night thing. This year he did a end of year episode instead. So I know that Harry Lime asked if I was going to be on Rick's live stream. I'm not, but you can see Rick is here watching this one. So thank you so much, Rick, for that super chat. Fantastic. So anyway, I received an award from the Tailhook Association. You can see there, it's called the Small Business Leadership Award. I wasn't even at the ceremony. Hoser came out. He's like, hey, they gave you an award. I was actually filming the Gentex episode that you guys remember we did there with the helmet guys from their booth. I had no idea. And so I was just completely blown away. What an honor from an organization that I've been a member of for a long time. I am a life member of the Tailhook Association, and we will be going to the Tailhook Convention it's the 3rd week in August in Reno again this year at the Grand Sierra Resort. So if you're in the area, we would love to see you. Every year we have a bunch of well-wishers come by. We have reunions, including old classmates. This is Jeff Hansen, who is an Academy classmate of mine, the A7 F-18 guy. This is the Bug Roach mixer where you wear your flight suit. Ours, still kind of fit us. It's a lot of fun to mix with the JOs who are in town, come in from Fallon where they're doing air wing training, or they drive over from North Island and Miramar or wherever, Lemoore. So just a fantastic event. Jeff is a prince of a gent. We'll celebrate being classmates a lot, but I actually knew Jeff well at school, and I'm very proud of what he accomplished in uniform. After that, we went to the Oceana Air Show the next month. As always, we had a fantastic time there. It always blows us away. People come in from long ways away to say hello and get us to sign things and so forth and so on. It's just fantastic. That's our hometown. Carrie was raised there. Her dad was an A6 pilot for his entire career, and so she was pretty much raised there. And then when we were married, after we were in Pensacola for only a year and a half, we spent the bulk of our career in fighter squadrons at Oceana. So Virginia Beach is our second home. So it's always great to go back there and see folks and the ghosts of the F-14 up and down the flight line, which I bore people with. Imagine 11 Tomcat squadrons, and over here A6 is in an aggressor squadron. I do like a nickel for every time I say that while we're there. But we also get to mix with the JOs that are flying now. This is Cher Sheppers. She had the distinction of being the first female to get an air-to-air kill. She ultimately got 4 air-to-air kills during the Red Sea ops aboard Ike CAG 3. She's in VFA 32, VF 32 being my first squadron. So she's a swordsman. She is a badass, and does my heart good to connect with folks like Cher. And we get to talk to the next generation of aviation leadership and aviators. This guy goes by Maryland Avgeek, and I was on his podcast talking about dogfighting, BFM. So that's a lot of fun. And of course, my wingman for all these things is Mrs. Mooch. We had a fantastic time. Thanks again to the organizers of the air show. We look to return this year in September. Exact dates TBD. And also thanks to the CO and XO of the base for hosting us. Good stuff. And while we're doing sort of fun photos, I'm also on the chain gang for Navy home games. And every other year, Navy is the home team at the Army-Navy game. So we were at the Army-Navy game a few weeks ago in Baltimore. It's really an amazing experience to be there on the sideline. I hold the down box on the secondary down box. And then this year I was on the Navy sideline. You can see the side judges there with us. The guy in the sunglasses, Brian Gaughan. Brian and I also knew each other at school very well. And then we went through VT-86 together, and then we went through the Tomcat RAG VF-101 together. And we were Tomcat instructors at VF-101 together. So it's fantastic. This is the beauty of particularly any service academy, but Annapolis, that you're friends for life, and you get to do things for life. The other guys to note this year that were great guests, Scott Kelly talked about what it was like to come back from an extended time in space. You guys remember that Scott and I flew together in VF-143 back in the early 90s aboard Ike. He went on to test pilot school and became an astronaut. His brother has been in the news lately for some of that stuff that he's done, reminding warfighters that they have the ability to not carry out unlawful orders, and that got him in some hot water with the administration. But Mark is also a great guy, an A6 pilot. People get Mark and Scott mixed up because they are very identical twins. But the guy I know very well is Scott, and Scott was a Tomcat pilot. So he was talking about returning from space when the astronauts came back after their extended time on the space station. We'll have him on the channel again this year as well. And then you guys got to meet Hey Joe, Dave Parsons, Tomcat Rio, raconteur, photojournalist, historian, great guy. I've known Hey Joe for a long time. He's how I got the job at Approach Magazine back in the day, and that changed the trajectory of my Navy career and got me involved in media in a big way. So Hey Joe talked about intercepting the Concorde, not the Concorde. And then he was talking about this hop they did to overfly a Russian ship in the English Channel. So if you guys haven't seen those, check them out. So then the next episode that we teed up was after the F-35 in Alaska mishap report came out. So let me that pilot was climbing back to rejoin his wingman for another visual check. The F-35 experienced uncommanded oscillations in both the yaw and pitch axis. The mishap pilot attempted to counter the oscillations with the stick as he selected max afterburner. After a few more attempts to counter the uncommanded movement of the aircraft, the pilot released the stick to see if that might stop it, but that didn't work, so he ejected. After ejection, the mishap aircraft continued to climb, reaching an altitude of 3,200 feet mean sea level before stalling and descending out of control until hitting the ground near the runway. The F-35 was destroyed on impact. The crash debris remained within the airfield boundaries. The mishap pilot's ejection seat and parachute worked as designed, and he was able to walk to the ambulance that got to him shortly after he hit the ground. So that was a dubious circumstance, and what turned out that the multiple touch and goes made the problem worse. So ultimately, the airplane thought it was on the ground. When it was airborne, the side stick controller didn't work. Fortunately, the pilot was able to eject. So that was one of our more popular episodes, and for a dubious circumstance. And Growler Joe pointed out in the comments there that he was, here we go. Some Growler Joe got us over 100,000 views for his noise at the field there near Whidbey. So yes, thank you, Growler Joe, for that. Growler Joe is one of our strong patrons. He shows up to our happy hour all the time, and he's also a citizen journalist there in the Pacific Northwest, mostly working the Growler beat. So thank you, Joe, for your support. Joe's also the reason that we were introduced to Casey Campbell. You guys remember that A10 episode where Casey was talking about getting shot up over Baghdad? That is our third most popular episode of all time. 3.5 million views. So we owe Joe a lot. Thank you, Joe. We appreciate it. Then our last trip this year was we went to Newport News on the invitation of Huntington Ingalls. I had been bugging Admiral Todd Moore and Admiral Bullitt Miller for some years to just have a look-see at what's the process of building a Ford-class aircraft carrier. We're always criticizing why it's taking so long, why they're over budget, but let's just go through the nuts and bolts, literally, of how you build one. So they hosted us. Mrs. Mooch and I went down there and had a fantastic inside the ropes view of how you build a Ford-class aircraft carrier. That was a great episode. Thanks to Murph Murphy, who's the VP for new carrier construction. We cruised together on George Washington when I was CAG Ops, and he was in the EA-6B squadron in the air wing. And he's now fleeted up to be one of the major execs there at Huntington Ingalls. So very proud of him. And he gives a fantastic explanation of the challenges and the process. So thanks very much to the folks at Huntington Ingalls. All right, so we're getting very close to awarding the Moochies. Let me just say thanks to all of you, the subscribers. We're up to 664,000 subscribers. That's an unbelievable number. And I thank you for your confidence in what we do here. I'd also like to thank our Patreon patrons who are kind of the SEAL Team 6 of the channel, especially the Happy Hour crew who they show up for our Zoom gatherings every Friday. And they attend our Moochie-paloozas wherever they're going on anywhere in the country. Like to thank the channel sponsors, especially Ground News and REC Watches. In fact, I'm wearing the Habu here, which is made from actual parts of the SR-71. This is a badass timepiece. So thanks to those folks. And particularly the folks at Winglore Spirits. We're actually going to do an event with them on the 30th of January in Sumter, South Carolina, not Fort Sumter, but the city of Sumter. These are some badass Viper guys and a Marine who have founded this spirit company. They also have a band called Dos Gringos, which is legendary in aviation circles. So Danger Boy, my band, is going to warm up Dos Gringos down there. More information to follow. Hope to see a lot of our Patreon patrons out there. We're kind of making it a Moochie-palooza of sorts as well. But thank you to the Winglore dudes, and I'm going to toast using Winglore, a single malt here in a few minutes. So thanks to all of those sponsors. Thanks to my managers, Chris and Danielle at Seen and Heard. They do a great job at finding us sponsors, and Chris particularly fields a lot of the emails that are sent to the Seen and Heard email address that's on the channel, how to contact us. Chris is a great guy. I'd like to thank Christian Lowe for the Mooch Report and the video shorts. Hopefully you guys will subscribe to the Mooch Report. Christian does great work each and every week. And when new videos pop up, he is on the case. So Christian was my managing editor at both military.com and We Are the Mighty. And we also went to war together in Afghanistan as embedded journalists in 2010. So it's truly awesome to have him as part of the channel now. And of course, Mrs. Mooch for being my co-pilot on the road and moderating live streams, including this one. Mrs. Mooch, here, come on over here.
No.
Or come on, just say hi. Come on, here she. I want to get her on camera.
I want to see the puppy more.
Yeah, there.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Thanks for your support. All right, he's a knucklehead.
So again, we got the puppy down there.
You get the puppy?
No. Oh yeah, go get him. Yeah, she's gonna go get
No,
Dry.
do your awards first.
Okay.
You can do
All right.
it.
We'll do the no. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go.
All right.
Go.
All right. We'll show driver later. Okay. So now it's time for the big event. First off, starting with the most viewed episode guest, the 2025 award goes to, drum roll please, Steve Trimble.
Ooh, Steve.
All right. Steve's recorded a little acceptance speech here, so let's bring that up.
All right, I'm Steve Trumbull. I'm the defense editor of Aviation Week, and I'm very pleased and honored today to accept this award from Ward Carroll and for his fantastic podcast. I love watching it, so it's great that I was able to contribute and create the most watched episode of the previous year. I wish everyone watching a very happy, wonderful New Year, and despite everything that was involved in that episode, I hope it is a very peaceful one for everyone.
So, as I mentioned, I've known Steve for a lot of years. I was the communications director for the V-22 program. Steve was working the beat, so he would ask me the hard questions. Then when I became the editor of military.com, Steve and I would be side by side asking the hard questions of whoever was doing a press conference. So it's fantastic when you have a friend like that for many years who is one of the best trade press reporters on the beat, and so I'm very proud to have guys like Kevin Maurer and Steve Trimble winning the Moochies. Okay. All right. So now the final award and the culmination of the Moochies, guest of the year, not entirely a surprise, but third time winner, Justin Bronk. So here's Justin's acceptance speech.
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much for continuing to engage with the interviews with Mooch. It's been great fun chatting with him over the past year, and a real honor to return to the Mooch Hall of Fame for 2025 after a tragic absence from the leaderboards in 2024. I hope in 2026 we have some more cheerful things to talk about, but it's been a great pleasure chatting on the channel. I always enjoy reading the comments, both the embarrassingly nice ones and also the amusingly trolling and Russia-friendly ones, so thanks for those. And yeah, Happy New Year, everyone, and I look forward to more interviews in future.
So really proud of our relationship with Justin. It began with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I read his white paper that he wrote for Rusi, and then reached out to him and said, "Hey, I love this reading of the Russian failures at the outset. Would you be willing to be on the channel?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm familiar with the channel. I'd love to." And since that time, we've done a lot of stuff together, and it's great to meet folks virtually. And this is kind of a COVID phenomenon, isn't it? When you actually get to meet folks in real life, and we've got to know Justin very well over the years, and I consider him one of my best friends. And he certainly is a subject matter expert, and we will be drawing on that expertise in the coming year for sure. And not just in the Ukraine theater. He's an expert in worldwide aviation. We used him for his analysis of the India-Pakistan air war, in addition to Ali Shishji, who was on from giving the Pakistani point of view. So, this is great. If he wins it 5 times, he'll be the first entrant into the Channel Hall of Fame, and then we'll have to probably declare him ineligible at that point. And so we do have a guest appearance here. So here is Driver. This is Ingrid's puppy. He's a little boy, German wire-haired pointer. He's a bundle of energy and very bitey like all puppies. So anyway, you guys wanted to see the Wonder Dog. He's a very good boy, and his mommy's taking care of him, and he's great. Yeah, we're gonna let him go. Just wanted to, hello. All right. So anyway, thank you guys for showing up tonight. Had a small but VIP crowd. I'm going to raise a Winglore here. You can see we're getting low on the single malt here. We're not quite to bingo yet, but this is fantastic stuff, and I look forward to seeing these guys at the end of January. Like I said, I also got the bourbon displayed behind me. So let's have a little toast here. So here's to peace in 2026. And if we can't have peace, here's to readiness. And we'll be covering the beat on the channel as we always do. Thank you guys for your support, and God bless you all. All right, guys. Look forward to seeing you again very soon.